Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the very distinctive world of Jean-Pierre Melville in his 1970 movie Le Cercle Rouge, recently brought out, updated by the Criterion collection in a terrific looking 4K UHD that to my eyes was absolutely fantastic. Now, again, I have untutored eyes. You have to consult the picture quality scientific community to get the ultimate judgment on it. But I've seen this film before on DVD and Blu-ray, and this film looks absolutely filmic to me in Dolby Vision. Um, it was a big hit for Melville and it had a terrific cast: Alain Delon, Yves Montand, Jean-Marie Vellante, and it's a gangster film. Many of Melville's films were gangsters, and he had a particularly distinctive view of the gangster film in which honor, professionalism, friendship is really illustrated and admired. So it's a heist film, and Melville was very much influenced. I think he said his favorite film of all time was John Huston's The Asphalt Jungle. But he also says in the interview in the booklet that comes with this release, he says they really had the idea well before he had ever seen that Asphalt Jungle. Um, so we have, and there's not a lot of dialogue you're going to find in Melville films. And the opening, which is absolutely cinematically brilliant, is almost, I believe it might be entirely wordless, where we see a police officer taking a prisoner handcuffed to him on board a train, and the tension mounts and as we're anticipating what turns out to be a very daring escape from that train. And there's a very amusing, and then he's on the run being chased by the police, and there's a very amusing contrivance where he brings this character on the run, played by Jean-Marie Vellante, with the character played by Alain Delon. They meet up in a very amusing contrivance. Alain Delon has just been released from prison. One of the prison guards is bent, and he has they need Delon back on the outside to execute this jewelry store heist of something like 20 million francs, and so he gets an early parole, and it's really and it's also illustrating the red circle, and Melville presents the red circle as a saying from Buddha, although by all accounts it was Melville's own saying. It was not from Buddha, but people who are meant to meet in the red circle, no matter what crazy routes they take to it, will meet. Fate. In other words, fate. So we have these two characters meeting in the red circle that the whole film leads to. And then the third member of this heist team is played by Yves Montand, and he's an alcoholic ex-cop, but he's known as, they need him because they need a marksman. And part of the suspense of the movie, for me at least, was why did they need a marksman? Montand joins the group and cases the jewelry store, but I couldn't figure out why they were going to need a marksman. And Melville's approach to movie making is you don't get a lot of backstory, you don't get a lot of psychology, you don't get a lot of information. You're watching people in almost documentary kind of style. You're watching them as they proceed through their lives, as they execute the heist. And he de-emphasizes acting as a energetic form. These are figures where or actors who are stripped of their acting. It's almost like Robert Bresson, where you don't act in a Melville film. You exist in this very distinctive world. And Alain Delon was great at that. I mean, he was the ultimate Melville character. He had been in La Samurai a few years earlier, so he knew Melville's approach. He liked it. He liked to just come to the set right before he had a scene. He'd do the scene, he'd walk away, because Melville was mostly a one-take director. And Yves Montand also liked this style of acting. He was a former music hall entertainer. He knew you had to do different kinds of things, and he really enjoyed that. And we also have another music hall comedian. This is Andre Boville, who was a big star, but a comedian. So he plays the police detective who loses the prisoner in the beginning of the film and then has to chase. He's in charge of the chase to recover the prisoner that he has lost. And he's really good playing against type. I mean, I had never seen him before or heard of him before, so I wouldn't have known that he was actually a comedian, because he gives a very convincing performance as this police officer. And then Jean-Marie Volonté, however, he had no clue what Melville was doing. He was an actor. This is 1970, the same year he made Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion, where he just goes, ballistic in his acting talent, and he's one of the great actors of the second half of the 20th century in movies. And but he really rebelled against Melville's method, this de-emphasizing the acting talent that Volonté had, and so he actually left the set for a couple of days, and Alain Delon had to go back to fetch him, to convince him to come back. But nobody really liked Volonté because he was constantly telling everybody he was a leftist, and yet Melville said he seemed to have a inordinate love of money, and he was very nationalistic. Everything French was terrible. On the weekends he had to go back to his beloved Italy. But nevertheless, he gives a terrific performance. Volonté is just a great presence in this film, as he is in all the movies that he made. This de-emphasizing the acting, really, it's so rigorous. You can feel the rigorous of this approach. It's consistent. It's kind of ritualistic. Everything in Melville's films have a sense of ritual to them. And I also have to mention Francois Perry, who plays he owns a nightclub, and he isn't a rat, but the policeman in charge of the investigation uses all kinds of methods to get him to turn and give up these criminals. He's always good, Francois Perry, from Nights of Cabiria, and I just recently saw Madame Bovary, and I thought, boy, he's a really good narrator. And then when I looked when I was watching the film, there's a narrator, and then I see it was Francois Perry giving the narration of Claude Chabrol's Madame Bovary. Everything is the same from the supplements, from the DVD. From they didn't add. The Criterion's adding nothing. It's just a upgrade. I didn't watch the Blu-ray, but I believe the Blu-ray also is an upgrade from the previous Blu-ray. And the film it was photographed by Henri Decaix, who had worked with Melville before, and very, very popular French cinematographer. American productions and would come to France, and they'd want Decaix to be their photographer. And the color scheme here is the intent was black and white in color, so the colors are muted. There's a kind of bluish look that is illustrated here on the cover and throughout the pictures. The movie doesn't look like this, but and when there is color, then it's a kind of pastel kind of color, but it really pops out at you. It doesn't pop out at you like modern films that emphasize, and especially on UHD, where they really ramp up the colors so that you're sitting there ooh and ahhing at the colors all the time. This movie is very, like I said earlier, is very filmic looking. And I was just totally entranced. Dolby Vision is a fantastic medium. It's my favorite large screen medium when I used to go to the movies, and IMAX I like as well. But Dolby Vision has a very distinctive look to it. As far as the film was in Melville's career, this was, I believe, like I said before, I think it was his biggest hit. And he only made one more film, one flick, which was a flop. That was his last film, and he died the year after that in 1973. He was only in his 50s. And he's a really interesting guy. There's an interview in this booklet, which is much larger than the booklets we get nowadays. And he had his own studio. He was sort of apart. He depended on money from the French studios and French producers, but he had his own studio that he would sometimes rent out that burnt down, and that was his dream studio. It was not rebuilt by the time that he died. But he was very iconoclastic. He preceded the French New Wave in Bob the Gambler from 1956, but he had also made films going back to 1940, in the late 1940s, one for Jean Cocteau. So he didn't make just gangster movies, but and Le Cercle Rouge took forever to get to America, 1990s, I think, and La Samurai I saw sometime in the early 70s. It was called The Godson, and it was severely cut and dubbed. And that was the first Melville film I had ever seen, and I was not impressed. But but the look of the film is very similar to of La Samurai is very similar to Le Cercle Rouge, and but I didn't really know Alain Delon very well. When I saw La Samurai not that long ago, I was just absolutely floored by how good it looked, and Alain Delon's very Melville-ian performance in La Samurai, and the play of fate, and that Melville is always, and the sense of professionalism that you get in all his films. And so I really much enjoyed Le Cercle Rouge. This is about the fourth or fifth time I've seen it. It is, if you have the old Blu-ray, I think you probably want to get this because the new Blu-ray is an upgrade as well. And if you have a 4K UHD, of course, and you like Alain Delon, you like Jean-Pierre Melville, I recommend Le Cercle Rouge. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who listened to me. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.